What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a top 10 of Collective Soul. We don't have any Collective Soul up on the channel. We're about to remedy this, courtesy of our patron and longtime friend of the channel, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you. And this one, he actually did with another supporter of our channel. It's always on our live streams, Doc. So this is a dual Brian Doc top 10. First time we've done that on the channel. So looking forward to that. We'll jump into a little research about Collective Soul. I'll say I really like Collective Soul's hits. I actually saw them in concert. Don't judge me. They were opening for Creed at an amphitheater in Albuquerque, New Mexico, back in probably the late 90s. Fantastic. They were so good. So I am familiar with, I know the hits obviously, but I've never listened to an album. There's some of the songs on this list that I don't know. So let's dive into it a little bit. First, we get a little words from Brian. He said, I always wanted to do a collaboration list with an RTTC cohort, and since Doc and I were the same age but miles apart, Doc's from Canada, it seemed like a really fun thing to do. The first band I chose was Collective Soul. One, because I knew Doc was a diehard fan. He definitely is, and you'll see when we get to these songs, they had a ton of success on the charts in Canada. But I have actually become a fan recently too, and I think they were vastly underrated as their overall music sound never fit into the mold that mainstream radio wanted in the mid-90s, post-grunge or Brit pop. And just a tiny bit of background that I'll do. They're an American rock band originally from Stockbridge, Georgia. The group consists now they had different incarnations of lead vocalist Ed Rowland, rhythm guitarist Dean Rowland, bassist Will Turpin, drummer Johnny Rabb, and lead guitarist Jesse Triplett. Formed in 1992, they released their Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid album on the independent label Rising Storm Records in 93. They went from obscurity to popularity that year after the song Shine became an underground hit based on radio play. That album was re-released in 94 under major label Atlantic Records. Collective Soul released a self-titled album. They have two of them, but this one was vastly more popular. In March of 95, considered by Ed Rowland to be the band's true debut. He stresses that over and over. This was the debut. The other album was something we just threw together. Collective Soul spent 76 weeks on the Billboard 200 charts and went triple platinum, becoming the band's highest-selling album. And there's a ton of songs on here that are the ones that most of you probably know by them. But as you can see, let's kick this list off with number 10, Where the River Flows, from that self-titled debut in 1995. Doc on this one says, one of three songs off the band's self-titled album to reach number one on the Billboard mainstream rock charts. This heavy guitar riff song doesn't hold back, explaining being pushed to the brink in a relationship. The don't cling to me attitude. I live my life, you live yours. Pretty much if it's meant to be, then that is where the river will flow. So before we jump into this, the music won't be in the video, but it will be in a Vimeo link below. Go check that out because you are going to enjoy this. I'll have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, Brian and Doc. Where the River Flows. I thought the highlight on that for me, you got Ross Childress doing the lead guitar. That was definitely the highlight here. That guitar riff was just infectious. I think it gave you a good idea of some of the sound of Collective Soul, at least on the little bit of the harder edge stuff. I like this song fine. It's not going to be on my favorites list, but the difference is like Doc's been a fan of this band forever, so he's had time to hear this over and over. For me, it's an okay song. You know, the verses, give me a moment, got to get this weight up off my chest. Don't feed me sorrow, pain is a poison I digest. And then the chorus, find yourself another soul to hold, off upon my journey I must go. So let's go, let's leave you alone. I'll give you answers to the questions you have to ask. Silence is beauty, words, they only complicate the task. Like, let's just let this thing go, you know, let's just chill, man. So I did enjoy it. I did like the guitar work. Like I said, probably wouldn't up on my favorites, but it is the first time I've ever heard that song. Next up at number 9, we got Observation of Thoughts off their recent album Blood in 2019. Brian said, I love the steady beat and piano that drive the song, and then the airy guitar that jumps in just as the chorus plays each time. Ed said that with this song, he knew he had grown to be a more adventurous songwriter, because if it was 5 years earlier, he would have never broached a song of this nature. I thought the lyrics were probably Ed's most self-aware and honest of his catalog. That is quite the build-up. I look forward to this one. All right, Observation of Thoughts from 2019, so very recent. I'll get into what I like about this song, and I'll get into why this song could never be a favorite song of mine. But first, what I like about it, you know, he starts off, GD this moment, GD what lies ahead. I'm just a sinner reaching for a savior's hand. The pre-chorus, I feel like a useless joke and some comedy. I feel like a promise broken for eternity. So lay it down, lay it on down, lay it all on me, lay it on a man in need. And then he repeats the refrain with the GDs. I'm just a question whose answers always seem to plead. I feel like a soldier waiting for the bullets burn. I feel like a wise man who knows he wasn't blessed to learn. And then just to lay it on down, and he finishes off with the GD this moment. GD, what tomorrow brings. Guitar works really nice in here. It sounds remarkably well, right? All these years later, it is very vulnerable songwriting. I like it. It's like a man who's, lived a long life as I have. I mean, I'm 50, so for me, I've lived a long life, and you learn lessons over that time. The part I can't get over, I'm a Christian. The GD part, look, man, I just can't do it. Sorry, guys, just can't do it. We're told in the Bible you are not to take the Lord's name in vain. Look, there's profanity in the Bible. If you take Paul's writings from the New Testament in the Greek, there's some words in it that you could say are profanity. So I'm not here telling you playing the profane police. I use profanity at times. I shouldn't. I do. But that word's a big no-no because it's a big middle finger, for lack of a better word, to the Lord. And being a Christian, whether you believe in that or not, it doesn't make it any less so. It is what it is. But I can see why people like this song. Now we'll move on to number 8, Precious Declaration from the Discipline Breakdown album in 97. Doc says, the first single released off the band's third album reached number 1 on the Billboard mainstream rock chart. The album was released while the band was going through litigation. This is a bad deal, man. With their former management. This is one of the many songs on the album that take a shot at that group and how they were screwing the band. You take what you think is yours, leave your hands off of mine is one of the lines in there. With signature catchy hooks and a strong me message. It's a classic rock song from the 90s. I found, yes, it was the lead single in a December 2017 interview with Song Facts. Ed explained the inspiration behind the song. I've got a few quotes from there. It's cool that he did an interview just a few years ago on these songs because it also gives him perspective on it. Ed said, quote, that's after we did go through a breakup with the manager with December. So that was basically about going through a lawsuit. Precious Declarations when they signed the release that we could continue being a band to continue on with our career. He got what he thought was his and I got what I thought was mine. Hence, Precious Declaration means yours is yours and mine you leave alone now. Look, I don't think I know this song, but it's 97. So something tells me I'm going to when I hear it, but I don't know. We'll find out. Precious Declaration. Yeah, I'd never heard this song. That's a really great song. I mean, I super enjoyed that song, man. Ross Childress killing that guitar again. Ed's vocals are just perfect. The way Ed sings is unique, right? He can get after it, but sometimes it's almost like he speaks singing just a little bit. And I mean, it works. It really draws you in, and the lyrics are really good. Hitched a ride to the peaceful side of town, then proceeded where thieves were no longer found. Remember, this is talking about the management who had him tied into this contract that made things so difficult. Can't crash now, I've been waiting for this. Won't crash now, I found some encouragement. Precious Declaration reads, yours is yours and mine you leave alone now. Precious Declaration says, I believe all hope is dead no longer. And then he's talking about the second verse, new meanings to the words I feed upon. Wake within my veins elements of freedom, and continues like that. So look, it's a double-edged sword here, right? Artists sign contracts with management. It's a two-way contract, right? The management's helping them initially because they are not over. They don't have any money. The management's backing them, or the record companies at times are backing them. And I get that because they may lose money on this group. Most groups never make it, right? We know this. So they're taking a risk. But sometimes these contracts are so oppressive that, I mean, as an artist, you feel like you're a slave because they own you and they can tell you what to do and how to do it. They were even telling them they had to go out on tour and how many dates they had to do, and even when they were exhausted. It's a long story. I won't get into it, but I see the two-way street. But, man, it's tough. I remember years ago reading about the Goo Goo Dolls, who I really liked during this time period, and they had a huge album, Dizzy Up the Girl, and I remember them talking about the fact that Johnny Resnick, their lead singer, said they were still in debt. Like, they still owed the record company money after that album sold millions and millions of copies. So it's tough, man. You get into this debtor relationship. So this is just him going, wow, now I feel like we own ourselves, my own creative freedom. So I like that part about the song. I think he handled it in the right way. Now we're on to the shortest song on here, Heavy, off the Dosage album in 1998. Brian says, love the heavy guitar work in this song. So many pedal effects used, especially in the solo. Song was inspired from the disastrous breakup, here you go, with the manager that hurt the band financially. I mean, this is the next year's album from the one we just did. Ed wanted to choose a word to describe the crushing weight he felt and went with heavy, but the title's not mentioned in the lyrics. I found second single from the album as the last of the band's 7 number ones on Billboard's hot mainstream rock tracks. They own that track, or that chart, as well as their most successful, staying atop the chart for 15 weeks, which is really insane. It was also their last song to chart on the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at 73. In that same interview that Ed did with Songfacts in December of 2017, he explained the inspiration behind the song, referencing their earlier hit December. He said, "Once again, I wanted to write a song that didn't have a title in the lyrics. So once again, I was being a little bee, I guess. I felt like I was being taken advantage of. So the whole thing is, quote, all your weight, it falls on me. I was looking for a word that would fit what I was describing, like all your weight, it falls on me, it brings me down. The riff I felt was heavy, so heavy just came up. And I wanted a song down to 3 minutes. I wanted it to move quick. That was written after we thought the record was done, and the guys were like, no, we need to get this one in there." And I agreed wholeheartedly. Heavy. What a nice guitar. As Brian said, Ross's guitar work on here is fantastic. Song's simple, right? It's under 3 minutes, just as Ed said he wanted to keep it. "Complicate this world you wrapped for me. I'm acquainted with your suffering." And in the chorus, his voice gets different on the chorus a little bit. Ed, he sounds fantastic. "All your weight, it falls on me. It brings me down. All your weight, it falls on me. It falls on me." And then verse 2, "Hold me up to those whom you've deceived. Promises you break. You still believe." And then it just repeats the "all your weight brings me down." It just works with the guitar and everything. So really enjoyed that one. And now for number 6, we're going to go back to the Discipline Breakdown from 1997. Got the song Blame this time. Doc says, picking up where Precious Declaration left off. Blame is a response to a lot of finger pointing from the former management of the group. And understand that whatever happened, it was not a one-way street. You have to live with yourself and those choices. But in the end, there will be redemption. But it just won't come from the band. It's the third and final single from the album. Went to 11 on the U.S. mainstream rock chart. Blame. Little difference in here musically as we start with the acoustic and end with the acoustic. Just really enjoyed it. You pushed me down for all the world to see. I guess that's your price for my loyalty. So while you're tasting the sin and swallowing the pain, don't look at me to take your blame. And then the chorus, when you're willing to render to the guilt you concede, when truth is your reason, then lay the blame on me. When you unveil a conscience and with peace you agree, when love is your constant, then lay the blame on me. And you lay me out in hopes that I'd wilt away, but strength rained down and love provided shade. And he finishes up with some other stuff. Don't piss Ed off, right? Because he's going to come at you. He's going to do it in a very artistic and good way. So I enjoyed the acoustic. I don't know if it was Ed on the acoustic or Dean, because I'm sure Ross was banging the electric on this one. Drumming work, I'm not talking about it any. I should be. Shane Evans on the drums, fantastic. You can't do this style of music and have a subpar drummer. So he's doing great. And then Will Turpin on the bass is doing his job. Well, we're halfway through the list, and I have not known a song on here yet because this list is not all hits, and I like that about it. So we're going to go to She Said from the Scream 2 soundtrack. It's also on Dosage. It's a hidden track. Doc said a song originally on the Scream 2 soundtrack that would later appear as a hidden track at the end of the album Dosage, just after the song Crown, by the way, if you're looking for it there. The story of a woman who's looking back on her life and the mistakes she made and how she never made the effort to change her life. Parts of the song are loosely based on Ed's grandfather's drinking problems, but She part is not based on his mother, just a perception of what effect one person's problem can have on another person's life. Boy, I think we've all lived that out. She Said, and the track below that you see on Spotify is a live track, so I had to go, of course, to the Dosage album and pull the hidden track out, but I got it back down there just so you know what I'm talking about on She Said. So far, my favorite song on this list, both songwriting-wise and just stylistically, it's really good. She said the time is unfair to a woman her age. Now that wisdom has come, everything else fades. She said she realizes she's seen her better days. She said she can't look back to her days of youth. What she thought were lies, she later found was truth. That's the folly of youth, isn't it? She said her daddy had dreams, but he drank them away, and her mother's to blame for the way she is today. And then that hook, life's river shall rise, she said, and only the strong shall survive, she said. But I'm feeling quite weak, she said. Will you comfort and forgive me? She said. So I think it's one of those things. I mean, I'm 50 years old. You look back on your life and go, there's things I could have done differently, and you really don't want to get caught up in that game, man, because it'll drive you crazy because there's nothing you can do about it, right? All you really got is today, and that's it, and moving forward. Like there's no reason to harp on the past, but we all do it at times, right? We reflect and go, man, but it's just it's folly, man. Try not to do that. And she's just talking about that and the stuff. People try to tell her, and when you're young, people try to tell you, man, but you kind of know everything, or at least you know some things, and you're not going to listen. We got to find out lessons for ourselves. And she just goes on. She said she's still searching for salvation's light. She said she wishes all day and she prays all night. She said she won't speak of love because love she's never known. She said it's moments like these she hates to be alone. And then the outro, forgive me, she said, forgive me, she said. So I read the whole lyrics to you because I think these lyrics are absolutely fantastic. And now at number 4, we finally get to a tune I know, the famous The World I Know, from that self-titled album in 1995. Brian said, I can remember loving the video of this, which depicts a suicidal man suddenly having a moment of clarity about how life is worthwhile. The color shifts were so cool and the song was so smooth. Ed wrote this song about his time in New York City, where he saw the dichotomy of homeless people in cardboard boxes and rich people pulling up in limousines, not giving the homeless person the benefit of even acknowledging them. I found this was a single, went to 19 in the US, number 1 in Canada, highest charting single there, number 1 on the mainstream rock charts for 4 weeks. In that interview with Song Facts in 2017, Ed explained a lot of what Brian was saying there. He said, I wrote that when we had a day off in New York City. This was 25 years ago when we were in Times Square, which is not what Times Square is now, which is like Disneyland. There was still some grit and dirt to the NYC, especially around Times Square and Union Square back then. I literally walked out of the room, took a 2-hour walk around New York, and just absorbed and observed from the highs and lows of what society was offering in the greatest city in the world. I mean, this song is great. The World I Know. I identify with this song so strongly. I mean, this was 1995 into 1996. I mean, Trey was just born. It takes me back to a time in my life. Like, this song is one of the songs actually that I hear that just defines the 90s for me. Like, it just takes me back to that time and place. So you can imagine, I think quite highly of it. Haven't heard it in a long time, but you know, it's about what Brian said. It was about, you know, has our conscience shown, has the sweet breeze blown, has all kindness gone, hope still lingers on. And then Ed's talking about where he is. I drink myself of newfound pity, sitting alone in New York City. I don't know why. Verse 2, are we listening? Hymns of offering. Have we eyes to see? Love is gathering. And all the words that I've been reading have now started the act of bleeding into one. And then we finally get to that chorus. I like it because they make you wait for a while to get to that iconic build up to the chorus. So I walk up on high and I step to the edge to see my world below. And I laughed at myself while the tears rolled down because it's a world I know. Oh, it's the world I know. It is that dichotomy of this world, man. I see people who do horrendous things, oftentimes on social media, sometimes from the highest office in this country. And then I see people who just have these selfless acts of kindness and sacrificial things. And, you know, this world is not a bad place. There's bad people in it. There's bad things in it. But there's good people here, too. And I think that just shows that dichotomy. I see this over here and I see this over here. How can these two things exist right next to each other? But that is life. But wow, what a great offering. And it might be my number 1, but I don't know. We'll see. Now we're up to number 3 off the Blender album in 2000. We have After All. Brian says this song was so simple and so simply well written that I had it on my list the moment Doc and I discussed our collaboration. A song about 2 former lovers who feel there is still a chance to rekindle the flame, only to realize that, as Ed puts it, they seem to be chasing what time's resolved. The bridge only has 2 lines, but the poetry of the lines, still we hide, safe behind these crumbling walls, carries the message of the song so clearly. After All, what a cool song, man. It sounds a lot different than anything we've heard so far. We still lose every color from the sky, then crawl as a child while the shadows burn our eyes. We know there's not longer shine on this burned out rainbow. And then that chorus, lately, it seems we've been chasing what times are resolved, or maybe something means nothing here after all. And then it plays on from there. I think many of us who are of a certain age have lived through these, right? Where the relationship's not going to work. You kind of both know it's not going to work, but you also can't let it go. There's familiarity, and you just can't admit failure and all those good things. And this song just does a very good job of kind of letting us know that. And once again, you got Shane on the drums doing a fantastic job, Ross on the guitar, and Ed sounds fantastic here in 2000 on this one. So now we're up to number 2. I know number 2 and number 1. So there's only going to be 3 songs on this list that I've ever heard. This is Run. It's from Dosage in 1999. I think earlier I said Dosage was 98. It's 99 was released. It was recorded in 98. But it's also from the Varsity Blues soundtrack in 1998. And that's where I know it from. Doc says from the album Dosage, the band tries something with a little bit of a slower approach. A personal realization of growing into adulthood and finding out it isn't what it's cracked up to be. Life is not exactly what we thought it would be, and there's a way we change how shallow we really are. Always on the run for answers. Look, I have a connection to this song. I actually watched Varsity Blues again recently, but I listened to this album all the time. I was big time into weightlifting at this time. I had my little CD player that you strapped on this little Velcro belt on your waist, so you looked real cool in the gym. And I jammed to this particular song a ton on heavy bench day. So don't be alarmed if I just disappear and start busting out some push-ups. Man, I said the world I know takes me back. This song freaking takes me back too, man. I just love everything about it. I love the way it's arranged. The instrumentation almost sounds like strings in there. I saw it went to 36 on the mainstream rock charts. Well, what are we doing, man? I mean, there's a lot of the other songs go to number one on that chart. I don't know what we're doing here, but all of it, the build, the guitar work, the drum, it all works, and Ed sounds so great. Are these times contagious? I've never been this bored before. And then they kind of do that little tempo chase. This is the prize I've waited for. Now with the hours passing, there's nothing left here to ensure. I long to find the messenger. Have I got a long way to run? Have I got a long way to run? Yeah, I run. Is the cure among us from this processed sanity? I weaken with each voice that sings. Now in this world of purchase, I'm going to buy back memories to awaken some old qualities. So if you'll listen, verse 1 and verse 2 are totally different, but right, he delivers the lines the same. Like the second line, he delivers in the same vocal inflection each verse. He switches, between line to line with the same vocal style. It's a brilliant little part of song making. And then, just finishes out with I've got a long way to run, and that great guitar that just kind of just melds in there. It doesn't go overboard, but wow, man, love that song. Now we're to number one. Most of you probably know what number one is. It's going to be December, off that self-titled debut in 1995. Brian said after being thrust into immediate stardom following the hit single Shine and forced into an 8-month tour that created bad feelings between the manager and band members, Ed composed this song. Since December signifies an ending to the year, Ed used this as an abstract way to signify the band moving on. Doc and I both agreed in our discussions that this album was their best, and December perhaps the best indication of the band's versatility. It was a single, went to 20 in the U.S., 2 in Doc's homeland of Canada, number 1 on the album rock charts for 9 weeks, surpassing Shine by 1 week, and number 2 on the modern rock charts. That interview in December 17 that Ed did with Songfacts, he said, "We're going through a tough time with our first manager, and I just felt like at the time a lot of stuff happened really quickly." You've got to remember, we had a hit song before we had the label or even a true band. So that relationship started to deteriorate. And while we were in the studio, it came pretty natural. I just wanted to talk about how I felt I was being used, and whatever I did was not good enough ever. Strong words, man, for a strong song. December. I think Doc and Brian were right on this, right? This song shows their versatility, shows what they can do. The instrumentation is top notch. Ross on the guitar, Dean Rowland on the rhythm. You got Shane on those drums. Will Turpin in the bass in there. The tempo changes, the arrangement, the way it's put together, it just shows everything. And Ed's vocals are tremendous and very versatile within this song. Why drink the water from my hand, contagious as you think I am? In other words, why are you think I'm poison? You think I'm all these bad things, yet you don't mind taking my money, the water from my hand. Just tilt my son towards your domain. Your cup runneth over again. You're taking all our money. Don't scream about, don't think aloud. Turn your head now, baby, just spit me out. Don't worry about, don't speak of doubt. Turn your head now, baby, just spit me out. I can't do it like he can. But verse 2, why follow me to higher ground? Lost as you swear I am. Once again, getting those digs like you think I don't know what I'm doing yet. Here you are. Don't throw away your basic needs and ambiance and vanity. So this song is a very fitting number 1. That's going to take me to my favorite tracks. I usually try to pick 3 off a top 10 list. That was not possible here as I looked at the list. I keep notes as we're going along, so if you see me over here, because, I've only ever heard 3 of these songs, so if I don't keep notes, I'm thinking back now going, what did I hear on song number 9? So you got to kind of, when you're old like me, remind yourself. But my honorable mentions are going to be Heavy, the number 7 track. And this one was a tough one. This was going either way for me. This is a great song, but I'm going to have the last song, December, as an honorable mention. My faves, Precious Declaration. After All, She Said, and then, of course, The World I Know and Run. So I have 5 faves and 2 honorable mentions out of a top 10 list. So there wasn't much here that I didn't really love, not dislike. And this is my kind of music. So Glad I got introduced to a bunch of new stuff. I need to spin these albums, but heck, I need to spin a lot of albums. It's just, there's not enough time in the day, boys and girls. Once again, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Doc, for contributing to this. I really did enjoy the back and forth between you guys. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. If you'd like to support us in any way, the way Brian does, check out our Patreon link below or the Patreon link on the end screen that's about to hit. They keep this thing going. Until next time, guys, I will see you.